continent in one show.
The African News Update. And today we begin with concerns over the growing use of artificial intelligence and intelligence-powered surveillance across Africa, as experts have warned that the technology may be eroding civil liberties. A new report by the Institute of Development Studies revealed that at least 11 African governments have collectively spent more than $2 billion on Chinese-built surveillance systems that use facial recognition and biometrics data to monitor citizens. These systems are often installed as part of broader smart city initiatives designed to improve security and manage rapid expanding urban populations. However, digital rights experts say systems are being deployed with little regulation and limited public oversight. Researchers from the African Digital Rights Network have also warned that technology could be used to track political opponents, monitor activists, and discourage journalists from reporting freely. Countries including Nigeria, Egypt, Algeria, and Uganda have invested heavily in the infrastructure, raising concerns about whether the balance between national security and individual privacy is being carefully maintained. This is a very important report there by these researchers who believe that one has to be careful so that we do not inadvertently, especially for journalists, inadvertently make journalists not willing to come out to make reports and feeling vulnerable, not making activists as well to come out if privacy issues are going to be deployed here. And we have discussed this over and over. Globally, this is not just an African thing. Globally, we are seeing more people or rather governments across the world and corporate organizations and corporations sit back to wonder this proliferation of AI and this boom in the AI industry, whether or not we should sit down and talk about regulations around it that protects the citizens, because at all times citizens should be protected. So it's very concerning that we have this, but experts are warning that technology may be eroding civil liberties, and that should be looked into. In the same vein, you ask yourself, how much is too much? Because while also deploying technology and redeploying AI, crime can be solved easily and even prevented easily. So there's a fine line between what you must do to ensure that you protect your citizens, while also having people know that you could get to them way more easily. All over the world, we have recorded several other instances where through technology we have better forensic and faster forensic activities, and it's something we should be very happy about. But here we are also having this warning from experts who think that it could be used to track political opponents. We also saw the America's elections where they cried foul, where a lot of people alleged that there was manipulation. We saw that also in several other elections. Is there really manipulations? And that is what happens when we just open our doors to this new concept we call AI. Moving away from that, tensions are rising once again in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region, where residents have begun fleeing the region's capital amid fears of renewed conflict. Hundreds of people are being reportedly leaving daily by bus and plane as troops from opposing sides gather near their shared borders, reigniting memories of the devastating civil war that ended with a peace agreement in 2022. Despite that agreement, both sides accuse each other of failing to fully implement its provisions. Officials from the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front claim federal forces have been surrounding the region, while Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed insists his government does not want another war. The earlier conflict is believed to have killed at least 600,000 people, and the current tension, combined with strained relations between Ethiopia and neighboring Eritrea, are raising fears of renewed instability. And I'm hoping that the peace group or that is being planned by ECOWAS would see the end of this Eritrea, Ethiopian and Tigrayan conflict, where we could sit on the table and have for once a breakthrough that would not have this conflict broaden. We have enough conflict across the world. Africa can stay peaceful. We are also recording the many devastating consequences of this conflict on humanitarian and the strained humanitarian aid that is also affecting these communities and these countries, especially around the border. So this must be addressed. On yesterday's edition here on the program, I was discussing how some of these borders were not necessarily mapped out by indigents. These were mapped out by colonial masters who took advantage of whatever does fit their interest at the time. So after colonialization, we see this massive conflict, border conflict between African countries. How can we resolve this? Can the African Union come and sit down and we accept the colonial border mapping so that we put this to rest and move on? Or we remap our continent? After all, who sets the standard? We can do as it pleases us, as long as it will bring peace and development for our people. Enough of the internal conflict we have in Africa, which is killing people. Like it was reported, the last conflict lasted, or rather took the lives of 600,000 people between Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Tigray. So this is very unfortunate. I'm hoping above everything we would not record more of this conflict. We will see peace across the conflict, even if we have to remap our continent. And I don't think that's beyond us, if it would at last bring the lasting peace that we want. We've had communities from one end speak a dialect, and from the other part of another country speak the same dialect, and it brings about that need to have a border that brings together the people of the same ethnic groups, the same languages, if that is most important. Again, you may say I'm sounding naive because I understand the infrastructural effort and rights that have been done in ensuring over the years that part of the country does remain in whatever country that they are inborn. But that begs the question of, do we really need to have this sit down? That's one thing we should do and bring about peace across Africa. Now we move on to South Africa, that has deployed soldiers to parts of Johannesburg in a bid to tackle organized crime and illegal mining operations. The troops were seen in the suburb of Riverlea in what is the first major military deployment since President Cyril Ramaphosa announced plans to support police efforts in confronting criminal networks threatening the country's economy and democracy. According to government officials, around 550 soldiers have initially been deployed in Gauteng province, including Johannesburg, with operations expected to run until the end of April. Authorities say the wider national deployment would also target illegal mining activities in the North, West, and Free State provinces, as well as gang violence in the Western and Eastern Cape. South Africa continues to battle high levels of violent crime, with police recording more than 6,000 homicides in the final quarter of 2025 alone. that right there is quite concerning when you look at the growing crime, all to their own, as it's always said. While Nigeria has its own, Congo has its own. I'm not saying there's such a country that is absolved from having crime issues, but we can do better in curbing these crime issues. What have we done in providing employment for young people? Those are some of the questions that government across Africa must respond to. If you have your young population engaged, these are young people with energies, with innovations, with skills. If you tap into these skills, one thing is for sure, you would see them more engaged in positive activities than in gang-related violence, like we often record across Africa. It has a ripple effect, and so governments across the world, above everything across Africa, must look into their young population. And this is a conversation I often have with people, and they tell you, oh, for sometimes it is not even young people that are perpetrating this crime. You see older people perpetrating, sponsoring this crime. But I would always maintain that if we have young people who are engaged, there will be no young person for an older one to use. It's as simple as that. Nigeria has its own conflict with also non-state actors. We call them terrorists, we call them bandits, we call them all sorts, but it still boils down to one thing: how engaged are these people? Unfortunately, I would say recruitment is going unfettered. Look at the young people. We are recording over 20 million out of school children, a number that is growing because there's no government effort to ensure that number dwindles. What's the awareness like in getting young people to school? These are the kind of engagements that would naturally get these children off the street. I always share something very relatable to everyone. Just drive across the city town, just drive across the FCT, the Abuja city center, and see how many young children below the ages of 12. A lot of them are not even 12-year-olds. They've been equipped with instruments to clean your windshield. That is what our government pass by these children every day doing. These are children vulnerable and susceptible to being co-opted into crime activities, because what else is there to do? What happens to government across the country taking note of these people, these children who will become adults with no skill? Cleaning the windshield of a car is not a skill. It's not a sustainable skill that will eventually sustain a family. And these are young boys that will grow up to become heads of families. What skill are we galvanizing to teach them? It's a ticking time bomb. And tomorrow you would say that we have too many young people in criminal gangs and in banditry and kidnapping. We are leaving that right there open. And so when I read about the stories like this across Africa, where there is violence, and now there is crime, police. We have police and the entire security architecture being sent. That is not the kinetic way to solve the fundamental issues that we have in our continent. Look at your children and educate them. They will not be part of gangs like in the case of in South Africa. And in Nigeria, they will not be part of a kidnapping gang, or will shun terrorism because they are more exposed, they are in school. Let these children get engaged in activities. We discussed it some time ago. There are skill acquisition and technical schools across the country. Engage them. Governments, constituency leaders, legislators must do something about this so we can curb the crime in this beautiful continent that we have. We have agriculture that's laying bare. We should do something in engaging them. That's my 1 cent on that matter. But in another development, Senegal's parliament has approved a new bill that significantly strengthens the country's laws against homosexuality. The legislation doubles the maximum prison sentence for same-sex sexual act to 10 years and introduces harsher penalties for individuals accused of promoting or financing such activities. Supporters of the law say the previous legislation, which dates back to 1966, was too vague and insufficiently strict. The new bill also prevents judges from granting suspended sentences or reducing penalties below the legal minimum. The move follows demonstrations by supporters of the measure in Dakar and fulfilled a campaign promise made by the government that came to power in 2024 under President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and the Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko. Okay, that is, we're seeing more African countries have tighter laws against same-sex activities, and Africa has for a very long time stood against that. I remember the conversation even in Nigeria here with the past president, where it almost seemed as if Washington was breathing down the neck of former President Goodluck Jonathan to assent to a bill. But across Africa, one thing's for sure, there is there's some sort of strictness. I know it's not as much in countries like South Africa, where they are a bit more liberal to the concept, but beyond that, there are strict, very strict rules against same-sex relationship. But moving away from that, a diplomatic rift between South Africa and the United States appears to be deepening after the American ambassador was summoned by Pretoria over comments criticizing the country's policies. Ambassador Leo Brent Bozell III had questioned South Africa's diplomatic ties with Iran and criticized its affirmative action laws designed to expand opportunities for black citizens. South Africa's foreign minister confirmed that the envoy had been called in to explain his remarks, which come amid growing tensions between the two nations. Relations have deteriorated since the return of President Donald Trump to the White House, with Washington accusing South Africa's government of anti-American position, while Pretoria has defended its domestic policies aimed at correcting the legacy of apartheid. This has been coming, this has been a long time coming, and I'm not sure if we would, for any reason, or very soon see an end to it. I'm hoping that, of course, we do see an end to this conversation. However, we keep recording deepening crises and rifts between South Africa and America. And now we are hearing about ties with Iran. And this Iran-Israel-American conflict has become very dicey for the African continent. Where do we stand? I saw a joke recently where someone said Africa would be unable to stand anywhere because we have taken loans from all the countries. So we may not be able to in all honesty and genuinely stand with anyone or against anyone. We are owing everyone. And while that is a joke, it also opens up a very concerning trend that we must not allow to continue. The fact that we have borrowed so much that it makes us naturally subservient to these countries. We are unable to stand with leverage that we all, God-given leverage that we have. I'm hoping that changes in the nearest future, but until then, where would Africa stand? And I can understand how criticizing the laws may be something this America will not take any easy. Or South Africa would not take easy. Remember that the South African ambassador to America was suspended by America some time ago, and with South Africa openly joining BRICS, I don't think America is particularly happy, and so we've been seeing that rift between America and South Africa, even though it's not escalated to a concerning level. But this is it, where this mission or ambassador is someone summoned, and we see back and forth. We've also heard the president of America also discussing very concerning rhetorics, where he said that the white South Africans were being marginalized and killed, in fact. A story that several independent reporters have come to say is not true. Meanwhile, in the United States, legal battles are intensifying over a decision by Trump's administration to end temporary protected status for Somali migrants. The move could strip around 1,100 Somali of their legal rights to live and work in the country, with U.S. authorities arguing that conditions in Somalia have improved enough to justify ending the protection. But migrants' rights groups and several Somali nationals have filed lawsuits challenging the decision, arguing that Somalia remains unsafe due to ongoing conflict with the militant group Al-Shabaab. Advocacy organizations say the policy reflects discriminatory attitudes rather than an objective assessment of conditions in the country, and the court cases could delay the implementation of the policy for months or even years. We've had the President of the United States tell you, I mean, he has not really hidden how he felt about Somalia, and the conversation with the lawmaker from Somalia, where it's been very difficult to watch and almost embarrassing to watch when you see these the organizations or these two individuals rant in the media. Very recently, there was even an address, the joint address of legislators, where Donald Trump said it very clearly, his dislike for Somalia. He has said it over and over. But then again, we've also recorded sometimes that the people of the migrants of Somalia in the United States taunting the government, a move I did not understand. Some, actually, it wasn't everyone, but some migrants living in the U.S. who were enjoying taxpayers' security protection, like was reported here, were taunting the government and taunting the people of America, saying you are working, but we are having a good time living in your country and you can do nothing about it. That was a stupid move, if you ask me. I do not see how there's already tension between the government and your country and your status in the country. So a move that can change any time, and you're taunting the administration, you're taunting the decision to keep protecting you. It was almost as if, come get me if you can. And I can't get you. The government can absolutely come and get you. I did not understand the mindset of those individuals who were taunting the government, but there it was. And the president is discussing possibly, ending that social protection and that they had been enjoying over the years. However, a lot of people would say, go back to your country and fix your country. I am very African. I have remained very African. I'm all about coming back home and fixing our continent. There is nothing we cannot do if all our hands are together in unity towards the betterment of our continent. So come back home, fix your continent. Let your continent also be a destination for other parts of the world. I mean, why not? We have so much that the world doesn't have. Leave the natural resources. I'm talking about sites that we could develop to the standard of Dubai. Nigerians, Africans are traveling to other parts of the continent just to go see and go take pictures in fake African zoos and with animals that were taken from Africa. This is a kind of tourism that we should have, looked at and, of course, made into something worth visiting, but we're leaving our shores to go visit other parts of the continent that are having a safari, a fake safari. We are traveling, leaving Africa to go visit a safari, a man-made safari. Beat that. Well, leaving some annoying concept about how we behave, and finally, the youngest son of Zimbabwe's former leader, Robert Mugabe, has appeared in a South African court over a shooting incident at his Johannesburg home. Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe is accused of involvement in the shooting of a gardener at the property in an affluent suburb north of the city last month. Authorities say the gardener remains in critical conditions while the motive behind the incident is still unclear. Mugabe has since abandoned his bail application, and the case is expected to resume on March 17th as police investigations continue. Well, I hope that justice would indeed be done, and these investigations would transparently show exactly what happened. There is no justification for taking laws into your hands to that level, except you're protecting yourself. But at this point, we are unsure of exactly what drove allegedly him into shooting. We'll get to find that out as investigations continue. But with that, we end today's edition of the African News Update. I hope you are better informed about what's going on across Africa.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show.